make sure you're subscribed to JerCrispy.
What's up, y'all? It shows the most that does the most. JerCrispy, we're back in another video. Why did 2010 games look like that? Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, follow our social media. It's gonna pop on the screen. We're gonna roll to 500 is by Extra Mint. Don't know why y'all be getting these YouTube names, but hey, Extra Mint. So y'all might need that Extra Mint in the comments.
If you remember when the walls of Toys R Us looked like this, the release of the PS4, MLG 360 no-scopes, and the early days of Minecraft...
Bruh, the 2010s was so way different, bro. I ain't lying to you. I remember I played my first time playing Minecraft was on my iPad, bro. It was like a freaking Android iPad, bro. Free 99, bro. Rolling around them mug, bro. I think it was just me and my brother playing that. And then which one? I don't know what year we got that PS3. I don't know.
Then you're in the right place. Because today we're taking a look at another decade that changed gaming forever, for better and for worse. The 2010s introduced a lot of people to video games. Maybe you got your first console, hopped on Xbox Live, or filled up a drawer with these. I know you still have them. Despite only being the last decade, there are a lot of weird visual styles and trends that you may or may not remember. So looking at
I didn't get Skate 3. I didn't get Skate in general to my Xbox. Yeah.
Everything from mobile games to the infamous piss filter, it's time to grab a Mountain Dew and sit back as we try to find out why.
Hey, you're finally awake.
Yeah. Toys to life.
Gaming in the early 2010s was characterized by a surprising amount of gimmicks and gadgets. Companies were still pushing the envelope when it came to interactive and multi-platform play, largely motivated by the recent success of, well, the Wii and its revolutionary controls. Some of these attempts...
The Wii is a whole different thing. Y'all don't know about that Wii, saying. Wii back then, saying, everybody used to go down. We had Mario, Rayman, we had all tons of other games. One that it was so fun that me and my brother played, bro, all day long and long. And this before we even had the main thing, PS4, PS5, Xbox, and all that shit. We had the Wii. I think the Wii was our very first console, if I'm not wrong or right. Probably, I don't know. I gotta ask my twin brother.
Unfortunately, would absolutely fall flat. The failure of the Xbox Kinect is a video in itself, but if you were around for its release, I'm sure you're all too familiar. On the flip side, a few of these ideas would go on to receive ridiculous levels of success. If you haven't heard the term Toys to Life, it doesn't matter, because you definitely recognize Skylanders, Disney Infinity, Amiibos, and Lego Dimensions.
I think we still got Amiibos. We had a Yoshi Amiibo, we had a Mario Amiibo, I think we had a Sonic Amiibo too. And then, yeah, we got a Luigi Amiibo too. I don't know what happened. Well, they all probably in my twin brother or somewhere. But yeah, Infinity. Yeah, I remember Infinity. I mean, everybody was trying to collect a piece. Some people used to think that was like real like toys, and they just used to play with them. That's how they used to do it.
These were all constructed around a simple but fascinating idea that I think is still pretty cool. You'd buy a physical figure from Toys R Us, take it home and place it inside a glass jar, or on a portal to bring it to life. Naturally, Infinity and Dimensions were merely jumping on the hype created by Skylanders in 2011. When Spyro's Adventures released, alongside its starter pack and base set of plastic critters, it was so over. I'm talking $3 billion in 4 years. To be fair, there's something about collectible action figures characterized into different elements that invokes something primal in me. If you were around for Gen 1 Bionicle, you'll know exactly what I mean. The thing is though, these weren't exactly...
I had that specifically that toy, and somehow, for some reason, I opened it during Christmas. All the pieces was gone that same day. I don't know what happened.
Cheap. To complete the original collection would cost at least a few hundred, and that's a full decade ago. Even now, there's resellers out here in the trenches, hustling chrome-plated Spyros from 2012. But that's besides the point. Where did this trend come from? Where did it go? And why the hell was everybody so obsessed with it? Well, part of their success came from the fact that buying them didn't just get you a cool in-game DLC, but also a character you could display and collect. It gave the figures an extra level
I
of
remember
functionality.
when I was in Lukeville, it's a school called Lukeville. Before y'all know that stuff like blah 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 blah. I had a friend. I forgot his name. He used to have Pokemon cards and Skylander cards and stuff like that. And I remember we used to play Skylanders and we used to play with the Pokemon cards and stuff like that. And I remember dudes used to bring Pokemon cards and stuff and play each other against the Pokemon card. Like, it was crazy.
That other collectibles rarely have. Additionally, looking specifically at Skylanders, they made all of the figures compatible with future titles. While you could buy the new releases, it wasn't an absolute necessity. At worst, they'd be a little bit less effective. The other thing is, while Toys to Life did dominate the shelves and wallets of the 2010s, it was far from its first excursion. Games from the late 90s like Redbeard's Pirate Quest provide early examples of toys interacting with gameplay. In short, it was a tried and true method of making a fuck ton of money. The novelty did start to wear off with Disney Infinity and LEGO Dimensions, and the market was well and truly oversaturated by 2015. Today, amiibos are the only ones keeping the dream alive.
I mean, is amiibo still popping as we speak? I don't know what that was going to. I don't know what that was. Hey, I don't know what you was trying to do right there. I gotta say, anyways, is amiibo still popping as how they used to be back then? When I was like, what, 11, 12-ish, or 13, 14 years? I don't even know what year amiibos was out. But they was like popping bad or something like that. I don't know.
I genuinely had no idea this style had a name, but it does, and it makes a lot of sense. It reminds me of whenever a show features a location in Mexico, and they immediately swap in this yellow, dusty-ass filter. You could find it on a bunch of games on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, starting in the late 2000s and tapering off in the 2010s. Turning to some of the more serious offenders, Resident Evil 5, Grand Theft Auto 4, and Fallout New Vegas all featured this muddy yellow tint. For a good couple years, it was completely inescapable. Today, of course, this has become known as the piss filter era, and a lot of people kind of hated it. Many have retroactively removed it to show these older games in their full color beauty, made available through mods. Strangely enough, I found that some box art had even fallen victim. Take a look at the USA release of the Wind Waker HD compared to Japan's. This might not be directly related, and I have absolutely no explanation as to why they changed this, but one is clearly more eye-catching and reflective of the game's environments. Anyway, before I go into the reasons behind the filter's sudden mainstream use in gameplay...
So you telling me you gonna roll. That caught my eyes for that little split moment. So we not just gonna see how this nigga just...
environments. Anyway, before I go into the reasons behind
one roll,
the filter's
two roll, three roll. You telling me if a dude rolling out, and stand like this, you think this dude is not gonna have the good advantage to shoot you while you mid rolling? Ain't no way.
Mainstream use in gameplay, let me know if any of you actually like the way this looked. I'm kind of torn because I think it does add to the atmosphere of many of these games. For one, it feels right at home.
Why he keeps spinning? It blurred myself a little bit because he's spinning. Like, stand up.
Post-apocalyptic landscape of Fallout. But for other games, perhaps in moderation. After all, it's hard for something to stand out as a storytelling technique when it's being used in, well, everything. But they did it anyway. And here's why I think that was. Firstly, it gives developers a quick way to make a game feel more dramatic and gritty in tone. If the world is dull and dominated by a single color, you aren't exactly going to anticipate nice things happening within it. Unlike other tones, this yellow coat gave off an almost sickly feeling. Considering its use in Resident Evil and the Fallout series, this isn't surprising. Additionally, tinting everything in a single color could help mask lighting engine limitations on older hardware. Unfortunately, by making everything yellowy brown and adding a shit ton of bloom, this would usually have the opposite effect. Look no further than Need for Speed Most Wanted, and the way that the sun drowns everything out when you face a certain direction. All in all, I don't miss this aesthetic.
Most Wanted? I think my twin brother played that game. Yeah, the Most Wanted game. I remember that game. It was fun to play. And watching him playing it too, it was fun.
I do miss the games it was applied to. We talk a lot about gaming and the internet on this channel, but apart from brief segments about Flash games, it's rare that I cover anything made by smaller developers. They don't always follow the grain set by AAA titles, whether it's due to budget constraints or their unique creative direction. This makes it harder to identify broader visual trends, but that's part of what makes them so important. Anyway, the 2010s saw a huge resurgence in this scene, with titles like Undertale, Five Nights at Diddy's, and Cuphead receiving unprecedented popularity. Thanks to platform-
wait a minute, take that back. Five Nights at Freddy and Undertale. Undertale is a good game to go back and play, but I am not playing, like, bro. How could you play, like, the Undertale, like, you just kill everybody and then you could beat Sans? I know it'll take you by at least about 90 tries to try to beat Sans.
Platforms like Steam and Xbox Arcade, digital distribution had become a real and plausible method of getting your game into the hands of gamers and DeviantArt. Independent studios were now able to grab a sizable slice of the player pie chart, with one of them coming back for seconds, and thirds, and fourths, but we'll get to that later. A common theme I did notice was the revival of pixel art. Undertale, Shovel Knight, Stardew Valley, and even Terraria were all hugely successful titles, originally made by small
Hey, what y'all know about
teams.
that Stardew Valley game, bro? I played that shit one time and I didn't know what to do, and I just uninstalled it the same day.
Looking at Shovel Knight specifically, you can clearly spot the NES influence.
Wait, what's that
Environments
game? Hold up. I'm gonna let them finish and talk after this. What's that game that they had to? They called Jumpman or something like that. It was like Releasy and all them dudes was playing it, and you had to get the top of the castle thing. It's like you go up and up and up, and then like it's like you see like a or there was Shovel Knight or something like that. I don't know.
Those seen in classics like Castlevania 3 and Mega Man. At the time, and frankly still today, this provided a nice contrast to the arms race for fully rendered facial hairs, world-accurate water simulation, and shrinking horse testicles. They showed that a good story could hold just as much weight as graphical fidelity, with or without a massive budget and writing team. That isn't to say pixel art can't be a purposeful, challenging, and effective art direction. While it's often chosen due to its low costs, it still takes a deceptively long time to master and implement. Moving on, another popular thread was the rise of indie horror games. Amnesia: The Dark Descent released in 2010, playing a role in jumpstarting the horror Let's Play phenomenon. At this point, you began to see the seeds of what would become a symbiotic relationship between small, particularly mascot horror games, and content creators. We've got to a position now where some developers have started pestering YouTubers to theorize about and react to their games. But to understand how we got here, we have to go back to 2014. Over the course of 6 months, it had simple mechanics, but was scary enough to be the perfect game for YouTubers. In fact, a lot of people only knew it existed because of this video. Shortly after its release,
because of Markiplier. Markiplier is the king of Finance for Freddy. Y'all gotta recognize that stuff. I feel like Markiplier should have got that role. He better be in the second movie that's coming out. He's better be the second movie. If it's not, third. How many y'all gonna make a third one? Y'all gonna make a fourth one? Y'all gonna make plenty of those. Everybody love Finance for Freddy. It's a good series.
Would begin posting theory videos on the games, acting indirectly as a viral marketing campaign that got people both into and excited about the lore. Indie horror games were the perfect candidates. Due to their oftentimes cryptic storytelling and subtle Easter eggs, it was fun to string these together and try and make a cohesive theory. This wasn't the only reason FNAF became so successful, but it definitely helped. Other developers saw this, and these games have gradually become their own genre, with titles today like Garden of Banban and Poppy's Playtime undoubtedly made with theory videos in mind. There's a growing discussion about how this is supposedly ruining indie horror, but that's for another day. Turning back to the early years of the decade, while indie games were beginning to gain traction, the market was still dominated by AAA titles. It seemed unlikely that a game with simple, chunky graphics could compete in a market where every studio was racing to turn your PS3 into a heating unit. I wasn't sure if the Red Deads, Halos, and Fallouts of 2010 could ever be challenged. That is, of course, until a based man based in Sweden released his biggest project ever.
What?
But first, a quick word from today's sponsor, and that's Shaver. And I beat the drag coefficient of a Formula 1 car. Outside of its smooth finish, upgraded trimmer blade, and tactical LED flawless fade with the trimmer, you can clean and
Hey, I mess with Manscaped. Shout out to Manscaped, but hey, I don't listen to that.
The cool thing about Minecraft was that you decided how the game looked. It gave you a level of...
Now, how long did it actually took you to build this? That's Queso? They got my guy Queso in the game. Ain't no way. Then they got the eyes open at the right time, too.
freedom that you could usually only get with mods. You could terraform, build huge phallic statues, or learn the ropes with redstone. I remember studying these 4 handbooks harder than anything.
Crazy fact, you know what's funny? I dead ass had all these books. I had all these books
Before or since, and I still can't build a decent hidden door. In another vein, I've noticed a lot of videos recently talking about the look of old Minecraft, particularly around the time of alpha and beta. Many have labelled it as creepy, which seems surprising for a game about blocks. It got me thinking about the experience of playing Minecraft in the early 10s. It's true that worlds were a lot more empty, giving single player a sense of loneliness and isolation. You could walk for hours through vast, untouched biomes, passing bright green hills and valleys, waiting for no one else but you to shape them. The idea of things like the Farlands and the old fog generation only added to this haunting atmosphere. There were definitely moments, the silent gaps between songs, the disturbing cave sounds, that put me weirdly on edge.
Oh, who was that running?
And I have to say, the community at the time didn't help.
Wait, where is this at? As we speaking, it's still on Minecraft as we speaking?
The early 2010s were full of online legends, things like creepypastas and SCPs.
I ain't lying to you. Them creepypastas back in the day when I was little dudes, ain't no joke, bro. I ain't lying to you. When I got older, I started scaring my little brother with them creepypastas, saying it was so hilarious though, even though I was scared of it too.
And Minecraft was no exception. Herobrine is the most obvious, but there was no shortage of stories about unexplainable chunk errors, items missing from chests, and the feeling of being watched. You can go back to forums from 2010 and see people talking about this exact thing, alongside some interesting theories. For example, one user here suggested the constant feeling of being observed came from the pixel arrangements on blocks. Apparently they resemble a face. Now, while a lot of these ideas are a bit out there, I think it's undeniable that something about Minecraft's early versions was unnerving. But that's enough theories. Let's talk about why Minecraft looked the way it did, and how its aesthetics changed over time. The first big difference is the lighting. At night it was almost pitch black, and when placing a torch it would look a bit like this. Notice how there isn't a smooth gradient transition in illumination between blocks. It's like each one is being given a slightly lower value according to its distance from the source. These awkward effects continued over to early day and night cycles.
Yeah, I think they would still attack you when you had the torch and all that. The zombie, and don't look at the enemy in the eyes and stuff like that. I don't know what I'm saying. Then you had to go to Netherworld, fight that little big old boss and stuff like that. Then you had to fight the dragon. Then they turn around. They had a whole story about he wanted to be the greatest builder. Minecraft was like going on with a lot of things.
Back then, the transition was not seamless, and each chunk had to update to reflect the changes. Unsurprisingly, this was quickly smoothed out in later updates, and can largely be credited to the fact that the game only had one developer up to that point, Notch. A complex lighting system was understandably difficult, falling below world generation, block types, and mobs on his list of priorities. Speaking of block types, they've changed a lot as well. This is what cobblestone looks like in 2010, and here's what's happened to it since. You might have noticed it looks like it's slowly...
Oh yeah, I remember that. It slowly was fading off. I remember this. Cobblestone used to be more lighter and you could actually see, and it looked like shaped like little chicken nuggets. Now it's shaped up like it's getting packed up together and stuff like that. It's like something different.
Fading away, and I believe that's completely intentional. As put by this Reddit user, this lowers the contrast between it and other blocks. It's why old Minecraft looked so much more chunky, with clearer divides between each of the textures. Today, with blocks taking on this softer look, they appear more natural, with less aggressive transitions. Why did this change? I think it's pretty simple. Minecraft started as an indie game, having new items gradually added as it grew in popularity. With this comes the need to update previous material, so it stays consistent with the new items. Still, development left behind many blocks looking outdated, and so when Microsoft took the reins and eventually revamped everything, it did kind of make sense. The game was given a more cohesive art style, with the softer textures being conducive to a smoother look across every biome. Many people didn't like it, citing a love for the simpler designs and their atmosphere, but I personally enjoy how alive the new versions feel. Maybe that's just me. Look, it was released in 2017 and that's now 7 years ago.
Hey man, what y'all know about that Fortnite, son? Man, son, I remember, I can tell y'all about this. Fortnite, bro, back then I ain't had friends in Fortnite, son. I ain't get friends in Fortnite till like season 2 and shit like that. I was season 1, I was playing all by myself. Cause my cousin and them, I don't know what they was doing. I had nobody to play season 1. Then season 2, shout out Lonely My Native. I was playing with him, and I was playing with my dog JP. That was the trio, and we were playing with random guys. And I remember there was a dude named JW, and there was a dude named JL. Shout out to them boys. Whatever they doing in life, bro. Man, shout out to y'all, bro. That was the squad, bro. We won so many games and stuff like that. Like it's crazy, bro. If y'all seen this video one day and it does pop up, man, shout out to y'all, bro. JL and JW, bro.
Whether you like it or not, Fortnite had a massive impact on gaming, similar to Minecraft and Grand Theft Auto 5. And I've got to say, Fortnite used to look pretty nice. They struck a perfect balance between overly detailed and simple environments, opting for a cartoony look that fit well with the gameplay and character design. At night, there was a signature purple glow that crept over the map, giving those quiet moments between gunfights a calm and relaxing tone. Everything was oversaturated with bright green grass.
And that's when they started, before all of this, bro, that's when they started all that and other stuff, adding all cartoons, video games, and stuff like that. Now we got Transform and Power Ranger in there. We got a lot of cartoons in there now. Mind you, the first thing was on here was Marshmallow. And then when Marshmallow got on here, that's when everybody else started falling down the line and all that other stuff. Everybody wanted a Marshmallow skin.
Trees and bushes. I don't doubt this approach came off as childish to those familiar with the gritty, darker hues of traditional shooters, like Call of Duty, but I also think it drew many people in. For me, at least, its art style felt like a much-needed break from the obsession with realism. I mean, you need to remember that back then, the Battle Royale genre was still in its early stages, and PUBG, as the biggest at the time, had a more grounded, militaristic aesthetic. A lot of these differences can be chalked up to the fact that Fortnite didn't originally intend to compete in the same space. It started as a side project, a cooperative survival game against zombies. Consequently, it was never pushing for groundbreaking realism, with its theme, building mechanics and smaller budget, making it an unnecessary feature. In the 2-month rush to release Battle Royale, it didn't ever make sense to rework this core design language, making for a shooter that didn't appear to take itself so seriously. It looks like something that anyone could pick up and quickly learn, and they did. By 2018, it had over 100.
And like to my little brother, he'd be on the computer and stuff. He'd be like smashing the keyboard, and it'd be like I don't know, son. That dude, he was good at the computer, and he used to play controllers with it too. I think he's still good. I think he's the only one in this house who really know how to a good build builder. I don't like to build or nothing like that, but I could build when I wanted to.
20 million active players, with streaming and content creation becoming an insane.
Oh, this dude, this is the problem. He found out he finally got his own skin. That's still crazy. Typical gamer don't got a skin yet.
Inseparable component of its success.
Yep, they got Ninja.
But as Fortnite continued to grow and evolve, so did its art style. If you log on today, you'll notice that things have changed. The colourful, cartoony look is no longer really there, with more diverse and realistic biomes. The simplicity of the older points of interest and environmental clutter, or the lack of, has been replaced by meticulously detailed interiors, temples, buildings and castles. Terrain is now a lot more varied, no longer being long stretches of the same grass.
Boy, I'm glad they have OG Fortnite. I be playing so much with the OG, son. I'd rather play the OG than the new Fortnite. Oh my god. OG is still love in my heart. on this game, like for real.
Patches of flowers, biome-dependent colours, and the purple-tinted nighttime has been abandoned. People have picked up on this, and there's a general sentiment that this shift to realism has left behind some of the game's charm and atmosphere. Personally, I don't completely fall into this camp. While it has undoubtedly left behind components of its initial identity, it was a necessary evolution to keep the game fresh and up to date. It has also expanded their potential to work with a wider range of collaborators, being realistic enough to piece together a fitting location for Marvel or Indiana Jones. Additionally, it kind of
I forgot Indiana Jones and all that.
It's amazing. You can stop in your tracks and take a screenshot like this. The world feels lively and engaging, with Unreal Engine allowing for sophisticated shadows, reflections, and above all else, actual mountains. While I miss the simplicity and feel that the game started with, this is one of those instances where I do think the newer style is just as good, and completely warranted. But let me know what you think below. Maybe you'll convince me otherwise. Angry Birds, Beat the Boss, Subway Surfers, Temple...
Oh my god, son. So much childhood memories, bro. Temple Run, Angry Bird, and Subway Up, bro. And Angry Boss. And what's that stitching game that you could torture that dude and all that? Bro, oh my god. And the shark game. Don't forget the shark. We went back on that video to the shark game and all that.
Run, Clash of Clans, and Fruit Ninja are only a few...
Classic Clans. I don't know what y'all got going down on y'all service. The service is still down. To this day, I don't know what's going on with the service. Mainly the people who are on Classic Clans, fix your stuff. I'll try to get on it the other day.
Few of the bangers that mobile gaming brought into the world. Things weren't always positive though, but we'll come back to that soon. Turning to design, smaller screens meant the introduction of highly simplified menus, large buttons and colourful icons. Looking at app thumbnails provides an excellent demonstration of this. When you're fighting for a tiny amount of screen real estate, it's essential to have a visually distinct style that stands out despite being the size of a fingernail. As a result, the most successful titles used common visual techniques and featured instantly recognisable characters at the forefront of their marketing. You'll notice that a lot of them only use a couple primary colours. For Angry Birds, it's red and blue. My Singing Monsters, green and blue, and Where's My Water, yellow and green. The use
I
of
remember My Water. I only play that on the computer though. I never download the app.
bright, limited colour palettes captures your eye and gives you information about the mood and gameplay you should expect. As you know, this was accurately reflected in the typical mobile playthrough, having low stakes and predictable, repetitive bursts of dopamine. On the whole, this helped to usher in a new age of casual gaming. Having an iPod Touch, tablet or otherwise was increasingly common, lowering the barrier to entry when compared to consoles.
Candy Crush, bro. Candy Crush, man. Candy Crush back then, I used to be on it. I said my grandma put me on that Candy Crush, man. I'll probably be playing that as an old man. When I get old, like, in my late 60s, I'll probably start whipping up the Candy Crush again. Just go down with Candy Crush. I remember my grandma used to play Candy Crush so much.
Or PC. More people in a household could now be playing at any given time, and these games offered them short activity loops that could be engaged with on the go or sitting in bed. It also bridged some generational gaps, with Candy Crush reigniting a slot machine-esque fire deep within the elderly. And right about here is where we get to the negatives. An unfortunate consequence of mobile gaming was the rise of freemium games and microtransactions. So many free-to-play titles had purchasable currencies. If it wasn't called gems, it was rubies, diamonds, bucks, coins, or some amalgamation of all of them. Everyone knows at least one person who spent thousands of their parents' linked credit card on rushing their cock base. While
I ain't played this one. I won the other one now. I ain't played this one.
Transactions had already existed, which you can learn more about in this video, mobile games helped to normalize them on a broader scale. To see how this has influenced the AAA space, look up Fortnite FTC refunds, or Fortnite Rule 34 for specifics. The 2010s made being a gamer feel cooler than ever before. You could point at YouTubers and pros telling everyone you were gonna game for a living, before practicing no scopes on Afghan all night. RGB was also becoming commercially available, and people's setups quickly went from this to this. All the while, the console wars were in full swing, with a healthy competition to produce the best and most engaging platforms possible. This didn't stop independent games from breaking into the mainstream, with their alternative styles succeeding at a time when realism was held at such a high standard. There were a couple uninterrupted years of back-to-back bangers, and I was rarely looking for something to play. Makes you
Anyway, so I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, follow our social media, pop on the screen. See y'all when I see y'all. Lay y'all to the bottom, Mario.